Hello, and welcome to Sarcastic Spinster, a PC-free zone, where I question the behavior of the minions of the Pussy Hat Goddess, aka the women's movement, because love her or hate her, we need to understand her. If you hear anything you like, please comment, like, and share below. Today, I want to talk about Nancy Pelosi, who I do not believe is a minion of the great Pussy Hat Goddess. I think she is worse than a minion. She is a politician. A minion at least believes in something or someone other than themselves. A politician believes in their own power, and they believe that they deserve that power. And I am always leery of anybody who thinks they deserve power. So, I want to talk about what Nancy Pelosi said at Harvard. I guess it was yesterday, and she was given a talk there. And she basically told anybody in the country who is interested in border security or concerned about illegal immigration that they can just basically fuck right off. That she doesn't care about the border. She believes in open borders, and we should all just be able to move anywhere. Now, you know, Canada and Mexico feel differently. So it's not like we can migrate outside of our borders, but she thinks everybody should be able to just migrate here. And that the wall is just a manhood issue for Trump. And I know she was probably saying manhood as in it's a macho thing for him. But being a spinster, I have read my fair share of historical romance novels, and I know that manhood is actually a euphemism for penis. So, I really think it was funny to have Nancy Pelosi standing up there basically talking about Trump's penis. Yay, you and Stormy Daniels. So, what I found really interesting about that is, of course, the wall was a huge campaign promise for Trump. And it was one of the main reasons that Trump got elected because he was the only one out of all of the candidates running through all of the primaries. He was the only one that was actually willing to stand up there and say, illegal immigration is actually a problem. And I know that minions of many different gods and goddesses are already calling me a xenophobe and a bigot. But I want to clarify that I am very, very pro legal immigration. I think that immigrants contribute tremendously to the country and to the economy and to keeping the dream of freedom and the understanding of individual liberty alive for those of us who were born into it and often take it for granted because we've never lived without it. We don't understand what it's like in a society where you really are denied those basic human rights. And also, I want to talk about the difference in the crime rate between the legal immigrant and the illegal immigrant. People like to hold up the crime rate and say, "Oh yeah, the crime rate for illegal immigrants isn't higher. Here's this immigrant crime rate, and look how low it is." And it is low because of the crime rate of the legal immigrants, which is incredibly low. And it is so low that it offsets the very high crime rate of illegal immigrants. And one of the reasons I think is it is low is that they have taken the time and the trouble and the money to do it the right way. And as a result of that, they've got a lot of skin in the game. And they're going to be very careful to obey all of the laws so they don't get kicked out. After investing all of that time and energy and money in immigrating to the US, You don't want to break the law and get your ass thrown out. That is one of the reasons we have the process. Hmm, fancy that. Whereas if you just, walked across the border one day, get down. And it cost you nothing to come except what you paid the coyotes to smuggle you in. Well, then, even if you do get caught, you go to a sanctuary city and Nancy Pelosi is going to protect you. She's going to keep you there because she doesn't care how many people you raped and killed. You have that spark of human divinity inside you. Now, I'm sure the people you raped and killed had that spark of human divinity too, but so what I want to talk about is how this open border policy and this idea that the wall is nothing but a manhood issue, as opposed to a big campaign promise that was important to a whole lot of people. Now, me personally, I don't care if it's a wall or something else. I just want border security. And for most of the people that voted for Trump, we didn't take the wall literally. It was just that it represented border security. If it's a wall, it's a wall. If it's something else, if it's a flaming moat or an electric fence or the freaking force field from Star Trek, I don't care. I want the border secure. I want to know who's coming into the country. And I want to make sure that they are willing to live under the rules of our house, because this is our house. And I want to make sure that the people who come here are willing to live under the Bill of Rights. So, looking at it from a minion perspective, what I find fascinating is that the minions of the Pussy Hat Goddess will rally behind Nancy Pelosi because she does cater to the minions. She will pretend to be a minion. She will embrace the minion movement and claim to be for all women, when really the only woman that Nancy Pelosi is interested in protecting is Nancy Pelosi. But if we look at it from the women perspective, there's this whole, Me Too thing going on. They just had the 1-year anniversary of the Me Too movement. And talking about rape and sexual assaults, which are absolutely horrible. And we definitely don't want more of them. We want less of them. We really do. I would love to see the day where nobody was ever sexually assaulted. I think I'm going to have to die to see that happen. And then it's not going to be on earth that it's happening. But I would love for that to occur. But she's not thinking about, well, what are we importing? If anybody can come into the country at any time for any reason, and we have no say, and we're not checking their background, and we don't know what their history is, we are letting in rapists and sexual assaulters. And before you go the whole xenophobic bigot thing, let's just take a look at the facts, because there actually are illegal immigrants in U.S. prisons for rape. Okay? It happens. Let's not pretend it doesn't. Let's not pretend that no illegal immigrant has ever sexually assaulted or raped anybody. Illegal immigrants are not some kind of holy being who have never sinned. If that was the case, this would not be a problem. So, again, PC free zone. I'm not going to buy into the bullshit. This is the facts. Some of the people coming across the border are rapists. Why don't you have a problem with that? Why are you going to defend them over the women who were supposed to be protecting from sexual assault? So How does that jive? How do you protect both women and immigrants who are going to assault women? Yes, some of the immigrants are women. So, and some of the immigrants are women who are fleeing violence. But are we stopping to consider that some of that violence is coming with them? So, how does that jive? Where does your priority lay, Nancy? Who are you going to side with? If it comes down to an illegal immigrant or a sexual assault victim, who are you going to side with? Well, she's actually made that quite clear with her sanctuary city status and her um, promotion of sanctuary cities. She will side with the rapist over the rape victim as long as the rapist is an illegal immigrant. And the minions of the Pussycat Goddess are cool with this. Why? Why are you cool with that? You're cool with it because you are looking for the government to solve all of your problems. And you think that these are the politicians who will advance the rights of women. And so if we have to deal with this conflict of collectives that they're dealing with, then so be it. That's what has to happen. And that's bullshit. Fuck that. Doesn't have to be that way. Because guess what? You can embrace your own power and you don't have to go run into a politician to try and solve all of your problems. If you reclaim your power and you reclaim your brain from the pussy hat goddess, then you don't need to sell your soul to Nancy Pelosi. Now, Nancy Pelosi appears to be under the impression that if the Democrats take the House in the midterm elections, which they very well may, that is traditionally what happens because the country likes a balance of power. We don't really like to have all of the power in the hands of one party. So generally, whoever is in the White House in the midterm election, their party will lose seats in the midterms. That's how it works. And she thinks that if they get the House, that she's going to be Speaker of the House again. But from what I understand, that's not necessarily going to happen. Because in culture on her side, which doesn't like old white men, old and white are two things that she is. She may not be a man, but they don't like old and they don't like white. So they aren't just sexist, they're racist and ageist as well. So it is far more likely that the Speaker of the House will be somebody else, somebody who doesn't have all of the baggage that she has. And she's got a lot of baggage. I mean, there's the whole healthcare thing of, well, we have to pass it so we can find out what's in it. And she's said some really off the wall, crazy crap over the years. And I can't say I'm a Nancy Pelosi fan. I was glad to see the glass ceiling for the Speaker of the House be broken and to see a woman in that position. I am just sorry it was Nancy Pelosi. On the other hand, I don't know that the party that is being supported by the minions of the Pussy Hat Goddess is going to have a speaker that isn't a woman. So is it just going to be a young woman of color instead of an old white woman? Who knows? And based on Nancy's cover of Time magazine, I would say that old thing is something she has a problem with because that woman was airbrushed to within an inch of her life. Oh my God. But anyway, so how is this conflict of collectives going to work? And why aren't the minions of the Pussy Hat Goddess upset about even allowing men, to come in as illegal immigrants? They're perfectly happy to deny basic, protections to the men in the United States, that they shouldn't have the rights to even be able to defend themselves against an accusation by a woman. So it kind of surprises me that they aren't out there campaigning to stop men from illegally entering the country, especially men from countries where women don't enjoy the same rights and protections as they do in the United States. The minions like to rail against the patriarchy in the US, but let's face it, there are a lot of countries in the world where the patriarchy is a whole lot more cemented and a whole lot more tyrannical, and women are a whole lot more oppressed. And why aren't they concerned about letting men from those countries into our country where they can oppress our women? It's a trade off, I guess. And perhaps they're just hoping that those men will oppress the women who are not minions, because, again, if you are not a minion of the pussy, if you are a woman but you are not a minion of the Pussy Hat Goddess, you don't count. Your rights don't matter. Your womanhood doesn't matter. I have been called a self-hating misogynist, and I have had my woman card revoked because I refuse to be a minion and because I dare to disagree with the deep vagina wisdom of the great and powerful Pussy Hat Goddess, who wants to reduce us all to our sex lives and our reproductive systems. Yay, her. So I do find it kind of fascinating that there is this conflict of the collectives going on, and which way it's going to break and how it's all going to turn out. But it is, history has shown us that given the choice between protecting women from sexual assault or granting sanctuary to an illegal immigrant, Nancy Pelosi will choose granting sanctuary. So, minions, you might want to think about that. If she had her open border that she wants, what's that going to look like? What's that going to do to sexual assault? What is that going to do to the rights of women? If you're letting a whole bunch of men from heavily patriarchal societies in, but then again, I don't think you care. You got Linda Sarsour as a spokesperson for your movement, and that makes no bloody sense at all, as she's also a minion for the promotion of Sharia law, which denies basic human rights to women. Okay. So, Nancy Pelosi doesn't care what you think, doesn't care what I think. She thinks matters to her, and that's all. And she thinks she's right, and she thinks she can create utopia, and everything will be wonderful, and nothing bad will ever happen to anybody if we just open the floodgates and let everybody in the whole wide world just come on in. And I just want, reasonable rules and restrictions. I just want to know who's coming in. And I want to be able to stop people from sneaking in. It's I want to keep people out of my house that I don't know. And so I have walls. I have a door. I have a lock on the door. I will open the door when somebody knocks on it. And if I know them, I'll let them in. If they, really need something and they really need help and they don't appear to be a threat, I will let them in. If they appear to be a threat or I don't know them or I'm not comfortable, I won't let them in. And that's not to say I'm not going to help them. People have showed up at my door asking for help, and I have given them help without letting them in. So the two are not mutually exclusive. And it strikes me as interesting that Nancy Pelosi would make these comments when there are reports of a caravan, at least 3,000 strong, moving from Honduras on their way to the US with the full intention of crossing the border illegally. And what are we going to do? How are we going to stop it? I mean, do we have enough border control agents to stop 3,000 people at once? We already don't have enough to patrol the whole border. And that is one of the reasons that we want the wall, where it makes sense to have the wall. And that's not to say that it makes sense to have it everywhere, but we need to do something in order to protect our own people. I find it disturbing that Nancy Pelosi's first priority are to people that she doesn't represent. So she is putting the needs of people from it's not just people from another district. I mean, as a representative, she is there to represent the people of her district. So it's not even like she's speaking for the people outside of her district. She's not just putting, the people of, New York ahead of the people of California. She is putting the people of Central and South America and the whole rest of the world over the people of the United States. So, and she's probably going to get rewarded for that. So, now I'm depressed. So I'm going to wrap it up. Hashtag Pussyhat Goddess. Something to think about.